Here, look at all this nastiness. Oh man, I gotta put a glove on. This is all oil and carbon that was caked inside the head that I let sit overnight in a degreaser solution. So this is gonna come out not brand new, but basically with almost 0 miles on it. I mean, the only thing that has a little wear is the inside of these stems for the valve, but I rarely ever see one of these go bad. If one of these goes bad, I just get rid of the head anyway because it's probably worn its way out. But I mean, look how nasty they are. And all I did was let them sit in there. Actually, I let them sit for 2 days because I forgot about it. So I'm gonna wipe them down and show them to you what it looks like now. But disgusting, right? But this truck's gonna run like brand new, brand new. All right, let me get back to work so I can build this thing for you guys. So right now I'm just prepping to put the bolts in the head. So I advise to take like a little cotton swab here and put some oil on it and just go in each one of these lines and run it through here and lube up the holes a little bit. And then take another cotton swab and just barely put any on the bolt itself and then put them down in. Now, as you can see, I spilled some on the outside, but it's okay. The oil's down in the hole. Then I'm just gonna take a nice cloth, clean it off. Then I'm gonna spray some brake free on the cloth and clean the surface off so the surface is clear, but the oil is down in. You don't wanna put your gasket on first and do this because you see you'll drip it on the gasket. That's just a tip for you. So let me go ahead and clean this up. Then we're gonna get the head gasket on. We're gonna set the head on there and then we're gonna torque the bolts down in. All right, here we go with the head gasket install. I wanna get this far away view so you can actually see the gasket and see the things going on. So the head gasket only goes on one way with the larger holes on the bottom, which are these. So they put these placer pins in here so that you can set a piece on and bolt it on correctly. So we're just gonna put the head gasket on, make sure everything's on. Now you always wanna make sure to clean all the surfaces before you do this and put it on. Make sure there's no carbon or anything on there. Don't put any gasket sealant on this, please. It's not made for this. We're gonna line the head up. Okay, so now that we have the head in the pins, it's locked on there. And I can walk away, and now I can take my time, check everything out, and make sure I did everything correctly, everything's lined up. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to fill these head gasket bolts in here. Now these bolts are what's called torque to yield. Now that we have the head on, we have to be able to keep the head on with some bolts, but normally the bolts are called torque to yield. They stretch, so wherever the pieces are on the teeth, they get a little wider. And the reason that they do that is because the more that they stretch and flex, the more of a lock and hold that they have. So in these large holes, there's 2 on each cylinder, so we're gonna have 8 on, or 2 on each piece. So we're gonna have 8 on each side. We're gonna put them in. We're gonna hand tight them down, and then there's a specific way how you have to torque the bolts. Sometimes you have to torque all the bolts to a certain number and then go back over them at a higher number, and then a third time at a higher number. Sometimes you have to torque the bolts and pull it off a quarter of a turn and then torque it again, and that's what makes that stretch in the bolt. So let's go ahead and get our bolts ready. We're gonna come right back. I'm gonna show you guys exactly what the technique is and how you should torque the bolts down on the gasket. And then we're gonna go over the stages of torquing the bolts in. Let's get some work done.
To the car wash, baby, you know, and get it waxed. You know, I want to wax it, you know, and air dry. You know, air dry that shit, yeah.
Now, I just put the second head on. Everything is matched up. I cleaned all the surfaces before I put it on. And then remember, before you put the head bolts in, you have to put some kind of oil here. I recommend regular motor oil because this is going down in where the motor is. If you don't put a lubricant on these, they are not going to get the torque to yield stretch. These have to stretch, head bolts. They say TTY, which means torque to yield, which means the spaces, all these little teeth in between here, will spread. Once they spread, this bolt starts to lose its strength. So they say only to use these once. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of oil on these, and then I'm going to go ahead and slide each one in like we did with the other head. I'm going to go ahead and torque, or just tight all them down, hand tight, and then we're going to look at the bolt pattern of how you move. So you work from the inside out. Usually if you go inside, then you go outside, then inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, but you have to keep bouncing back and forth. It's almost like what you would say the star pattern is and putting your tire on. So I'm gonna get a little bit more work done. Then I'm gonna show you what the torque is, how to do the torque. It's not just one time, it's a set of movements. If you don't do it correctly, you're not gonna get a very good seal. So let's get right into it.